Hey guys, I know that settling in Canada can be very difficult sometimes, especially from someone who is coming from different country. It's always even hard to settle down in your own country if you're moving from one state to another. For an example, I'm from Nigeria, right? If I live in Imo State and I plan to move to Lagos, if I don't know anybody in Lagos, it won't be easy for me, right? One is I have to come to Lagos, find a place to stay. I have to figure myself out and find out how things work in Lagos. The same way it is when you're planning to move to Canada. It is not easy. But the truth is that you can also help yourself to make it a little bit easy for yourself, right? It doesn't have to be that difficult. You can make it a little bit easy by being careful on selecting the province or the city that you want to live in. For an example, I made a previous video where I talked about and I asked why do people always rush and move to Ontario? Now, the truth that you don't know is that in Ontario, you actually pay 7% or 8% more tax than you pay in Alberta. Now, for an example, you go and purchase something worth of $100 in Ontario, you have to pay 13% on top of that $100. Now, you purchase the same thing in Alberta, you pay 5% tax on top of whatever you purchase. Now, that is not all. Based on the money that Ontario will charge you for their tax when you work, is also different from the money that Alberta will charge you for your tax. So I'm saying that in the sense that it is very important you consider cities that you're moving in. Another thing that I have issue with Ontario, and I will say it and I'll say it again, is think about this in this direction. If you're looking for a house in Ontario, houses are very, very expensive. It doesn't matter where it is. Even if you're going to Hamilton right now to buy a house, Hamilton is another city in Ontario. You're going to Hamilton to buy a house, you're still looking at 1 million, 1.2, 1.3 million, 1.4 million. Now, the question is that when somebody spend that kind of amount to buy a house, how do you expect them to get their money back, right? The rent has to be expensive. So that's why it's very expensive in Ontario. And again, for even um, a landlord or the owner of the house to rent the house to you, it will seem as if you yourself, you're the one buying the house because they will ask you for every information, right? So it makes it so difficult for new immigrants to settle in Ontario. Now, I'm not saying that locks or grace are the same. Many people will have different experience. But what I'm saying is that a lot of people find it difficult to settle in Ontario. So for you, if you're planning to come to Canada, first of all, consider other small cities. I know that many people will tell you, oh, in small cities, there is no job. Why do you want to go to small city? Come to a big city. It is very important for you to settle first before you decide where you want to now live in Canada. Find a smaller city, a province, that is affordable for you to settle down first as a newcomer. Because it's not like you just come in like this and you land this big job. Sometimes you have to start small. Yeah, sometimes you have to start small. So think about it in that direction. Don't just rush to cities that are populated. Like right now, a lot of people have moved to Ontario. Many people are actually leaving. So last year alone, if you read the statistics, a lot of people left Ontario to Alberta. They sold their homes, they quit their job, and they moved to Alberta. Why? If people who are here are leaving that province, and you who is coming from different country, for example, you're coming from Africa with your currency, and you want to live in that city, right? For students, if you get admission and you are in that city, I definitely understand it because that is the school you got admission from, and you know what, you have to do your school. When you're done with school and you can't get a job in Ontario, I will advise you to consider another province like Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba. All these small cities, small provinces. Alberta is not that small, but one thing about Alberta is that that it makes it easy for you to find a place. Because right now in Abada, you can still find a basement for 1,200, 1,300, two-bedroom basement, and you can share it with a friend, and both of you can pay like $650 each, and you will have the whole two-bedroom basement for yourself. So please consider this when you're planning to move. Consider the city, consider how populated that city is before you make your plan to move, so that you don't come to this country and you're depressed, you're bothered, you don't know what to do. Don't just rush to those big cities. And another thing that I will say, these are tips, so very important. Another thing that I will mention as well is that Ontario, when a city is populated, many people will lose empathy. I don't know if you guys understand what I'm trying to say. They will lose empathy in the sense that it will be hard for even churches to help you if you're a Christian, or mosques to help you in Ontario. Why? Because a lot of people have taken advantage of them. So, because one is there's a lot of immigrants moving in and they need help, they take advantage of churches. So, churches are tired. For smaller cities, there are still churches who are open to help you as an immigrant. There are mosques that are open to help you when you need help and you run to them. It is important you know that. And it's important because you need support. When you come to Canada newly, you need people who can help you out. So I normally advise people, when you come to a country like Canada, look for a support group. And when I say support group, I mean if you're Muslim, go to mosque and find out, people in your religion. If you're Christians, look for church that you can join, and they will be your backbone. They will support you. From there, you can talk to the pastor, talk to someone. They will direct you, oh, this person knows about resume. Because you cannot just come to Canada and you feel like, oh, my resume will work. The way my country works is the way Canada works. No, Canada works differently. You need to know what is happening. You need to know what is going on in the country you've entered. You need to ask questions. That's the truth. That's why many people don't succeed, because they don't ask questions. Ask questions. Ask questions. How do you get a job in Canada? How do you prepare your resume? Right? I mean, when I say resume, I mean CV. How do you get it ready? I have looked at people, I've reviewed some people's resume sometimes. They even have their high elementary school in their resume. Who cares about your elementary school in Canada? Who cares about your age? Those things are things that it doesn't even need to exist in your resume. Some people, they will design their resume as if it's art. At the end of the day, if you submit that resume, the system wouldn't even take any information from that resume. So it is really important you ask questions. And the truth is that if you ask questions, people will help you. If you ask questions, people will help you. So don't just move to a country and you try to figure it out yourself. Don't do it alone. There are people that will help. If you ask this person for help, that person can help you. Jump to the next person. Don't ever feel like, oh, because this person can help me, then that means I can get help. No, there are people who will be happy to help you. So please consider this. Consider your rent. Consider your feeding. Consider your expenses before you move to province like Ontario, like Toronto, all those areas. Some of even those small cities now are hardly to find a job. I'm telling you, go and ask those who have actually moved out from Ontario. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening.